Hello there, Ricky Tang here. Time to give you a little update about my little motorcycle dilemma, S1000R versus the R1250R. Well, there's been no big update yet. In fact, the sales guy I started speaking to about the R1250 just over a week ago has been on holiday for the last week, for the last working week, so I've not had a chance to speak to him, which is in a way a good thing because I can just think about things in my own mind rather than having the salesman kind of keep in touch and do his salesman thing while I was working things out. He did say that he would be available or checking his email, sorry, while he's on holiday. Now, I did email a question a couple of days back, but he didn't respond or hasn't responded. So I called the shop this morning with a question, and I'll be getting back to that question in a minute. Now, yes, to get you up to date, I've been thinking about the colour of the R1250, which colour I'd go for if I were to buy the bike. And the salesman originally said that there are some HP style models, which are red, white, and blue. They're in the country, but they all come with the Krapovich exhaust, from what he's found, from what he told me. Based on that, I did ask him what would the numbers be, the price be on the mineral grey model with the standard exhaust. But I think I would like a sporty exhaust on my bike. The thing is, though, I'm not convinced about the Krapovich exhaust. That's the option on the R1250, and here's why. The one on the R1250 is quite big, and it's got a Krapovich on the side, but it doesn't really look like one in my mind. And it's the same with my S1000R. It's quite a large end can on my bike, and I never really gelled with it. And so with that in mind, I called the shop this morning with a question. I asked the salesman on email earlier this week. I didn't get an answer to. So I called them up and said, well, what if you supplied me a bike with the standard exhaust, but then supplied and fitted an alternative silencer? Now, there aren't that many silencers available for the R1250 as far as I can see, but there is a Remus Black Hawk silencer, which looks pretty nice, slimmer in the body, a bit longer perhaps, but the Remus supplied dyno charts, they look reasonably impressive for a slip-on exhaust end can. So yeah, I asked the question: would the shop do that? And the guy I spoke to said, well, no, that's not normally what we would do. If we're sourcing third-party exhaust and fitting that, then we basically open ourselves up to liability problems if something goes wrong with that exhaust. They would fit the exhaust for me if I supplied it, which is nice, which is good, but this exhaust costs £600. My hope would be that they would supply it, fit it, and put it on a finance deal, because I want the moon on a stick. I want everything for free. Well, not for free, but you get what I mean. So I might, if I do buy the 1250, buy it with a standard exhaust, then look to upgrade the silencer myself in the future. I'm so glad I didn't say near future, in the future. Now, there has been comments. Thank you for all your comments, by the way. It's excellent. This video's done better than I expected, really, for just a guy just talking about buying a new bike. Appreciate people chiming in, giving their opinions and their thoughts on what I was thinking about. But yeah, some people said, well, why not the S1000, the new one? Now, I was hopeful for the S1000, the new one. Before it was revealed, I was hoping that the mid-range, because I said, the mid-range isn't great, would be improved significantly. That's what I would hope for. That would get LED lights, that would get the full TFT screen and the connectivity that was missing from my machine. And to be fair, they've kind of come through on all fronts except mid-range. I've got to say, yes, it's improved, judging by the dynos charts that they've produced in the kind of press images, but not as much as I would like. Again, moon on the stick guy I am. I want more. But also, I had to take a step back and think, well, actually, the S1000, the new one, is going to be like the last one. The best of the power and the torque is going to be too high in the rev range for my personal liking. You know, to get the most of that bike, most out of that bike, you're going to have to be, you know, revving it at high revs and getting onto silly speeds, illegal speeds. So yeah, it'll be frustrating, a bit like my current bike, to have all that power and not to be able to use it often, if at all, on the roads. So yeah, I think that kind of rules out the S1000R and similar high performing naked bikes like the 200 and the Super Duke. The power is just a bit further away from where I want it to be for my next machine. Also, for the S1000, one thing is a bit of a shame is with the restyle from the front, it doesn't look like a Psycho anymore. I like the way my S1000 looks from the front. Headlights themselves, the performance, rubbish. The looks, I love it. So yeah, it's a shame they've gone away from that on the S1000. Now, the new Speed Triple, the 1200 RS, has been mentioned a couple of times as well. Oh, no, I did mention it in the last video. And because it was mentioned, I thought, okay, let's call the Triumph dealer and see if they can get hold of a demo bike in the near future. You know, ideally before the end of February when the discount runs out on the R1250 deal, or one of the discounts. I called the Triumph dealer and they said they wouldn't get hold of a demo bike for at least 2 or 3 months. So that's a bit of a shame, unless I was a patient man, which I'm not. Yeah, the Speed Triple is potentially an option, but the more I look at it and the more I look at the dyno chart provided by Triumph in their press bump, the more, again, it kind of makes me think that they've taken the power away from where I want it to be. If you look at the dyno, I think the peak torque is now nearly 2,000 RPM higher up the rev range than when it was on the last, where it was on the last model. No, that's not what I want. Other people will love it, I'm sure. They want to get that, you know, get the throttle twisted, get the revs going up, and have the bike start to go a little bit mental on you. So what I was hoping for in the new Speed Triple was, yeah, a much fatter mid-range from a capacity hike. But what I think we'll get in the mid-range is, through efficiency gains and weight loss in the engine, it'll be a more efficient throttle response. And that'd be nice, a more efficient throttle response in the mid-range, a kind of a quicker throttle response, but that's not the same as big hairy torque balls. Yes, I want big torque balls. That's what the box has got, big torque balls going side to side. Anyway, we'll move on. But having said that, I haven't ridden the Speed Triple, so you could tell me to STFU until I have. Another thing, shaft drive. I cannot believe in that last video I didn't even mention shaft drive, because actually it is quite a biggie for me. Ever since I was 17, thrashing around on my old Honda CB100N, I've always hated chain maintenance. And it's kind of stemmed from a lack of confidence that I'm doing it properly and that I've adjusted the chain properly. That it's not still too loose, or the main one for me is that I've not adjusted it too tightly and risk damaging the gearbox sprocket. Always been a worry. Last 30 years, always. It's never really got that much better. So yeah, my worries and anxiety about chain maintenance only really has increased since bikes have gone to only having side stands. So I've ended up, you know, being outside my house, pushing the bike down the road while checking for tight spots in the chain. It's rubbish, really. It's 21st century, man. Now, BMW have released a maintenance-free chain. It's, I think, about £100 option on certain BMW models. But my question is, it's quite new, this chain, this announcement. Is it really maintenance free? Now, apparently you don't have to lubricate it. That's great. But will it not stretch at all during the life of the chain? Because if it does stretch anyway, and you still have to adjust it, well, adjusting is maintenance in my book. So it's not maintenance free if it stretches. Also, you would need still to replace sprockets at some point. So if you end up using worn sprockets with a maintenance-free chain, would that not then wear the chain out? I don't know. I think there's questions to be answered. If anyone can answer those questions, that'd be great. So if I was going to abandon chain altogether and I wanted a shaft drive on my next kind of sporty naked bike, the R1250 is actually the only game in town. So despite what I've been saying about chain final drive, I've been dealing with it for 30 years. I suppose I could deal with it again on my next kind of performance bike. So I thought, well, is there anything else out there I could consider? Because I've made my choices pretty narrow. So is there something else I could potentially put into the equation? And there is one other potential bike, and that is the Kawasaki Z H2. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, I have ridden the Z H2 twice, and I love that engine. The bike generally is a good performer, handles decently. It's about the same weight as the R1250, so it's not, I don't think, heavier or not appreciably heavier. So I enjoyed that bike a lot. Now, the reason I didn't mention it at all in the last video was price. I would want the SE model with electronic suspension. Why? Because my current bike's got electronic suspension and the R1250's got electronic suspension. So I might as well stick with the high-end stuff if I'm going for it. Now the SE Kawasaki costs £18,000, which, yeah, this is why I didn't mention it in the first place. But I did end up contacting the local dealer and just finding out whether there's any blinding deals to be had on the ZH2. They did offer a £1,000 deposit contribution, which is pretty decent. But after more or less matching the monthly payments to the R1250 with the Acura exhaust, which was £223 a month, after matching that, the balloon payment at the end, should I want to keep the bike, was, you sitting down? £10,000, or just over £10,000. So with interest, the total outlay would be just over £21,000. I gracefully noped myself out of that conversation. I can't see myself spending that much money on the bike. So at the moment, the guy I was speaking to about the R1250 initially, the sales guy, he's back in the shop on Tuesday, 23rd of February. So I'll continue the conversation there. And the conversation will mainly surround the colour of the bike, which I think I want the HP model. But I think I want one with the standard exhaust, so I can think about the Remus Black Hawk exhaust or some other exhaust I haven't researched yet in the future. That's where we are. So that's about it for this video. I'll look forward to seeing what you guys might have to say in the comments. Thanks again for watching the last one and for watching this video. And yeah, I'll give you another update soon as I've got some decent news for you.